Hey guys, it's Mike. So, after a couple pretty heavy episodes, I'm going to take it a little bit lighter and I'm going to talk about romance today. Uh, Now, I say that, but I'm not particularly good at romance. I don't, I I don't see myself as good. I'm certainly not what you'd call like a player or anything like that. I kind of suck at getting girlfriends, to be perfectly honest. But that's, I'm okay with that. It's not, the objective for me isn't to get a girlfriend. The objective is to find the right person, right? So I'm getting ahead of myself already because this is definitely not a simpler topic than death. Um, it's definitely not a simple topic at all. It's definitely one of the most complex ones, and while yes, it provides some of the greatest joys and things like that that life have to offer, it's also a cause of great stress, great frustration, great tension. It is possibly one of the most complex things that human beings put themselves through. And I'm part of that. I wonder how much of that is our own doing, and part of that, how much of that is the nature of it itself. So let's start with me because it's my vlog. I'm going to talk about me. But also by talking about me, that hopefully provides a bit of a perspective on anything else. So, like I said, I kind of suck at asking girls out or, starting relationships in general. I haven't had many official relationships over the course of my life, and yeah, times I kind of wish that was different, but at other times, maybe that's better. So, I mentioned in my first episode that my first thought in a given situation usually isn't about myself. I mean, like I said, I may have selfish intentions, I may have selfish objectives, and I do definitely have selfish thoughts, as everybody does, but I tend to think about others first, or at least I try to, right? So, first first hurdle is finding somebody who I'm attracted to. I've been told that that could be a contributing factor to my problem is that I tend to have I I set the standards high, right? I don't know. It's just with a lot of things I do, I have high expectations. I have high expectations of life. I have high expectations of myself. I expect myself to live up to high standards, and I expect, to a certain extent, I expect my life to maintain similar standards. But it is never an obligation, as it were. I would never want somebody to change just because I have high expectations. I would never I would much rather somebody just be themselves and than change and not be themselves just because I have some weird worldviews. Um, so once I've found somebody who I consider attractive or I'm attracted to, um, actually, let's talk about that for a little bit. What do I find attractive? I mean, physical attraction is something that is important, right? I don't, while it's never the main focus, and it should never be the same focus, it can't be ignored either. Um, Somebody can have an excellent personality, but if you're not attracted to them physically, like if you don't find them attractive, it's just going to cause issues, I think. I mean, I think if you genuinely find somebody attractive, you're willing to overlook physical shortcomings. I mean, I think that's a much easier thing to overlook than anything else. But there has to be some level of attraction. But I find what I'm most attracted to, honestly, is strong personalities. And by that, I don't mean, and I am woman, hear me roar. Though, if that's what that is, then for you, then great, power to you. But I'm attracted to, I guess, potent personalities is maybe a better word. Um, like you don't have to be like a strong Amazon woman, or look at me sustaining a family as a single mother or anything like that. Like that, there is great admiration I have for those kinds of strengths, but that's not what I mean by a strong personality. I mean somebody who has a rich, vibrant personality, whatever that personality is somebody who I find is the type of person who I tend to find myself attracted to. Um, and if you have that, I am definitely much more willing to overlook physical shortcomings because I believe, as a as far as relationships are concerned, I think you have to respect somebody as a person. You have to value somebody as a person before you can even consider them as a partner. But that's just me. I know not everybody sees it that way, and for many people, if you get to the point where you're valuing them as a person, as a friend, um, many people are too afraid to lose that, and they don't want to risk a relationship. But to me, I almost see it as a prerequisite, and oh god, that has bitten me in the ass more than I care to say. It is one of the major contributing factors is the fact that I am so focused on finding. I am very hung up on finding somebody who I value and I think is an interesting person. Um, so once I've identified that, I usually like it's never seeing somebody at a bar or a club or running into somebody on the street and saying, "Hey, do you want to do coffee sometime?" That that's difficult for me. Honestly, that's very difficult, and it's not very plausible. I guess it's not tangible to me. It's like, hey, you're a random person. Let's date. You don't know anything about this person. You don't know, what they like, what they don't like. You don't know if they're a nice person, if they're a mean person. You don't know anything about them. And I get that that's kind of the point of dating is you finding out the person. So let's talk about my ideal here, I guess, right? So you've identified somebody who is an attractive person, or I've identified somebody who's an attractive person. To me, at that point, it's kind of a hey, I value you as a person. I am interested to see if there's anything more here. Are you up for that? And to me, that is literally it. Like, that is very, very literal. I'm just interested in seeing if there's something more. And that's what I think dating is. Because I see dating as something separate from being in a relationship. Dating can be part of being in a relationship, but dating and a relationship are not the same thing. To me, at least in the initial stages, dating is I've identified you as somebody who I am attracted to, who I want to see if there's something there. And dating is the process by which you find out whether or not there is something there. You find out if you are compatible. You do learn more about this person at a greater level than just being friends, right? Um, it's a much more personal, much more intimate connection. It is literally a hey, I want to get to know you, not just your opinions, not just your thoughts, not just your likes and dislikes. I want to get to know you. Now, assuming that all goes well. Assume you date this person for a little while and you say, hey, you know, there is something more here. I am genuinely interested in you. I'm learning about you and I like what I see. To me, that's when it moves into relationship stage. Um, so once you actually get into a relationship and are, a couple or more, whatever floats your boat, then that is when you have a very special bond. I think that's when you have something that you are always learning about each other. You never stop learning about each other. I've seen people who have been together for decades, and as much as people joke, and sometimes people have problems with the fact that it's the same old every day. Somebody who you've known for decades can still surprise you. There's still something about them you don't know. There's still something that they can do which hits you out of left field. And if you have chosen your partner well, I think that is good. That's exciting. That's what keeps things going. That's a very awesome thing to happen. Um, so yeah, so when you actually get to the relationship stage, you never stop learning about each other, but I think at that point you have a connection which is more than just friendship. It's more than just dating. It is I think it's a very, very strong bond. Is it something that lasts forever? We'll see. I mean, I don't believe there's an ideal timeline. I don't believe that it's after 3 dates this happens, or after you've been seeing each other for 2 months then you're in a relationship, or after you've been in a relationship for a year you should be proposing marriage. I don't believe that there's any hard and fast timeline. I think it is literally different for everybody, and you don't know when it's time to proceed until you know. I mean, when you get right down to it, when it is the right time to proceed, you will know and you will do it. Now, sometimes you need help seeing it. Don't ever think that people, maybe pushing you a little bit in a direction is a bad thing, because some people need it. But to me, that's the ideal, right? I mean, there's lots of different things that can happen. There's different paths. People have, one night stands or flings or what have you. But to me, that's the ideal progression. Now, why do I suck at it so much? Is I'm too focused on making it awkward for the other person. By that I don't mean I'm trying to make it awkward for the other person. It's I'm paranoid. I am scared shitless of making things awkward for the other person, and that's true of all things, not just relationships for me. So I found some. So let's say I find somebody I'm interested in, and I then kind of go into a little bit of fact finding mode. It's like, okay, I'm interested in this person. Are they single? To me, that's just something that's kind of important. I mean, I would hate for if I was in a relationship for somebody to for my partner, for my girlfriend or whatever, to cheat on me. So last thing I want to do is try and go in and try and wreck a relationship that's already there. So yeah, first thing, like, are they? Is it even available? Like, is this even a possibility? Because if there is an existing relationship, done. I hands off, back away, done. Right? You can be a person who I am interested in, done. I'm not going to go into the relationship stage or even pursue that or dating or anything. I'm not going to try and break something up. So, and then the second thing is, are they interested? Because and this is where I completely lose the game. I am so to me, if I come up, girls, fair girls tip, I guess I no, I joke, but I mean seriously, if I find a girl who I'm interested in, I say, hey, I think you're an awesome person. I'm interested in knowing if there's something more. If the girl then says, sorry, I'm not interested, to me, done. You know, I drop it there, right? I respect that. I have no interest in pushing something that they don't want. I'm, I mean, I might jokingly try and convince them or something like that, but it is never intended with malice or an attempt to force anything, right? It is very, very simply, I value you as a person. I think you are a very interesting person, and I am simply interested in seeing if there's something more. Having said that, I know I've been told by many uh, female friends of mine, and some male friends, though it tends to be much more something I hear more from female friends of mine is if a guy comes up and says to them, "Hey, I'm interested in you," and they're just not like they just it's not reciprocated. They say that. And even if the guy backs off right away and is like, okay, cool, fair enough, that it makes things awkward. Like, oh, well, he thought about me in that way, and that makes it awkward. Is he still thinking about me in that way? Is he going to try anything? Things like that. There's a I'll be honest. There's kind of a little bit of a paranoia there, which is culturally and socially nurtured, which is quite frankly not healthy. But I completely understandable. I don't begrudge anybody. There's too many horror stories out there, and far too many creeps who just don't understand the meaning of the word no. And I feel for I feel bad that it is necessary, but I don't think it's healthy that is the mindset. But it is what it is, and unfortunately, there's not much that I can do. Well, there is, but that's the thing for another day. Anyway, so for the record, anybody who is curious or is interested or things where this comes up, if I ever come up to you and say, "Hey, I think you're an awesome person. I think you're an interesting person. I'm interested in seeing if there's something more." If you say no, done. No pressure. The reasons I valued you as a person haven't changed. I still value you as a person. I still value you as a friend. If you're just not interested in pursuing anything more, that's that. And I wish more people felt that way. I mean, there's one of the hot topics online is this whole nice guy thing, right? This whole nice guys finish last and blah 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 blah, and how terrible this is or whatever. And there's this counterpoint, and there's this major cultural thing here, which is absolutely correct, in that just because you are polite and nice to somebody whom you are interested in, just because you hold a door open, just because you happen to buy them lunch one day, does not mean they owe you a damn thing. They have every right to say no, and you have no right to expect anything from them. If there is this prevailing mindset that if I am polite and nice to a girl, then she owes me. And it is complete and utter bullshit. It is not in any way related or in the same plane of existence of reality. So, if that's honestly how you think, you are not a nice guy. You may be doing generous or nice things, but you are not a nice guy. And quite frankly, it makes guys who are nice look like shit. And that is a rant, which I'm going to stop there. So, yeah, I think you have to value somebody as a person before you value them as a partner. And because it's a cultural epidemic that is not normal. That is not the standard. Um, I get stuck in this mode where it's, hey, I think you're an awesome, interesting person, and I want to see if there's anything more there. And if you're not interested, then I am perfectly cool with that. We can continue to be friends. We can continue to hang out, and it will never come up again. And if you don't want it to, and I don't ask in the first place. I just don't. I get stuck there. It's, hey, I think you're an awesome person. I think you're an interesting person, and I really want to know if there's anything more there. But I don't ever ask that. I don't ever tell that to the person because I am so afraid, actually, that doing so is going to make things awkward for them. That it's going to be difficult for them to maintain the friendship, and that's the last thing I want. I don't want to make anyone feel awkward. I don't want to make things difficult on them. I don't want them to be living in fear that I'm not, or that I'm going to expect something from them, or um, thinking about them behind their back or anything, because that's not in any way the intent. I mean, an actual genuine relationship is, if you love someone, it's not never having to say you're sorry. You will have to say sorry plenty. Both parties will. Love is not never having to say you're sorry. It's that even if you are at each other's throats and you're having an epic argument or a disagreement or a fight or something like that, you still love them, right? You may disagree with them, you may argue with them over this particular issue, but you still love them. It's there's a comic online. I'm sure you can find it easily by just searching Google. It's a wordless comic. It's a couple. It's an old couple bickering and yelling back and forth, and it starts to rain, and so the gentleman, simply unfurls his umbrella and holds it over her as they continue to bicker. And that to me is what it is. I mean, if Stepford Wife, which I've honestly never seen, but from what I understand, Stepford Wife, everything is perfect and too good to be true, is boring. Um, like I said, I'm attracted to strong personalities, and that means strong opinions. That means strong debates. They're not always going to see eye to eye. Um, Life is interesting. Keep it interesting. It looks like 20 minutes. 20 minutes is going to be the standard rather than the exception. But yeah, I just quick note. I hate how culturally unacceptable it is for, well, not culturally unacceptable, how it's perceived as culturally unacceptable for girls to ask guys out. I think I think it's awesome when a girl asks a guy out. I think girls should feel like they are strongly empowered and have every ability and right to ask a guy out if they're interested. Right? I think you know, I, it frustrates me to see how many girls are nervous or feel like it's unacceptable for them to do that. And I really wish more of them would feel comfortable doing it. And the catch there, of course, is if you're going to start doing it, you have to be willing to accept what comes with it. I've had girls who have said, I've had girlfriends, not girlfriends, friends who are girls, whatever the phrase is, who, like, if I talk to me and they say, well, I'm really interested in this person, but I don't know if I should ask them out. I said, well, we'll just do it. And then they say, well, what if he says no? Guess what? That's part of asking, right? That's what a guy goes through every time he asks a girl out. I mean, there's always a possibility of rejection, um, and that just comes with the territory. So you have to be ready to accept that. And you know what? That's not the end of the world. It is what it is, and it is part of the territory. But yeah, that to be fair, that's where I fail too. I mean, I'm not perfect. I mean, I my concern isn't them saying no. I'm not scared of the rejection. What I'm scared of is what the rejection does to our friendship. That's where I get stuck. That's why I have a hard time asking in the first place. And girls, if I ever ask you out, please know what went into that, because oh god, it takes a hell of a lot of effort to get me that far. Just for me to will those words out of my mouth. So if I ever do that, I mean it. I have put a lot of thought and effort into this. I don't care if you say no. Well, that's not right. I do care, but it's okay to say no, right? It's okay to say no, and it will not affect the friendship that we have. It will not complicate it. It will not change it. And I'm no, just know that it means that you are valued to me. That I think you are a valuable person, and I think you're awesome. And hopefully you say yes. But if you don't, it's okay. I just wish more people were like that. I'm going to stop it there because I am rambling and I'm repeating myself. So, yeah, much lighter than last two episodes. And, guys, please suggest topics for me to talk about, because coming up with a topic every week, even though I cheated and did a topic 2 weeks in a row, yeah, let me know what you want me to talk about. I'll talk about it. Bye bye.